So I was thinking the other day about modern problems solved with caveman solutions. My wife and I were having a pretty good argument, mostly about the shit we'd done to each other over the relationship. So why was I thinking about how a caveman might have dealt with these issues? I guess because I felt that as a modern man, I was losing the game of life and losing it badly. I felt more and more like my own desires and interests in the relationship had taken a back seat to whatever she needed or the kids. A lot of guys are taught that's normal, that's okay. If it's so normal and okay, then why are so many guys left feeling disrespected and lost in their own home? Maybe it's just me. But anyways, so I was thinking about caveman solutions to modern day problems. I don't mean the problems of where to get gas from next, or how to cover your utility bills and your Netflix subscription. I mean genuine core problems that existed today and back in the caveman days. Let me give you an example of a modern day problem, and then consider how we as a species would have dealt with it in the caveman days. You come home from a long day of work, 8 hours, 10, 12, whatever your chosen poison is. You pull up in the driveway of the house you pay for. Hell, maybe your wife even works too and helps you pay for the bills. So you come home to your place you and your wife pay for. You come into the house and see a pair of shoes you don't recognize at the foyer. It's a pair of sneakers. Hmm. You head upstairs and go towards your bedroom. Inside you find your wife riding the next door neighbor having a good old time. You're devastated, but what can you do? You can't hit him. I mean, the voice in your head is probably saying, fuck that bitch. But hopefully that same voice reminding you that leads to jail time. So what can you actually do? Well, what you can do is get divorced, lose the house, the cars, the kids, and pay her alimony. She gets extra dick and a golden parachute. Modern day marriage is a huge investment with limited returns and a brutal early withdrawal penalty. If no fault divorce, the woman regularly gets to decide when that withdrawal penalty applies. It's like for a man, you get to play stupid games and win stupid prizes, but she gets rewarded for this shit. Now imagine for just a moment that instead of coming home from work, you're coming back from a 2 or 3 day hunting trip. You're dragging some deer meat with you. It's been an exhaustive trip dodging wolves, bears, and other nasty shit. The stress of the hunt starts to melt away as you approach your cave. You begin to let your guard down and prepare for some relaxation for a couple days before it's time to head back out. You get near your cave, the fire out front is burned really low. You see a spear resting against the entrance to the cave you don't recognize. Sensing danger, you approach the cave with your spear in hand. You enter into the cave carefully, stalking forward. Your hunter instincts are kicking in fully, and you're searching for your prey. You're rustling in the distance, heavy breathing, and the shifting of fur skins. You stop and listen for a minute, trying to let your eyes adjust to the darkness and see what is happening. As the darkness pulls away to your night vision, you see the outline of a shape moving on top of another shape. Your brain registers that it's two people getting dirty, and you have the fleeting thought, maybe it's not your cave wife. You approach a bit closer, and now you can hear moaning and groaning. You register the voice as your girl and another caveman. Your first instinct is to attack and kill this intruder. Someone is attacking and violating your girl. But you stop for a moment longer and listen. You hear him giving the same sweet nothings and soft giggling whispers she gives you when they're in throes of passion. You realize that this intruder isn't an intruder at all, but a welcome guest in your cave. A welcome guest when you aren't around. What do? No police, no divorce courts, no alimony, spear in hand. So anyways, a caveman prepares to leave his cave one day in the future and sets 2 skulls outside the entrance. He grunts and shakes his dick at his new cave girl, and then stalks off for another hunt. His girl has been yelling at him all day and night about food, food, food. He's mumbling to himself as he wanders away from the cave about cave bitches and their incessant whining for food. Fast forward a couple days, and he's returning back up the trail towards his cave. He's got a nice hunk of wild boar for his cave girl, enough to feed him and his girl for a few days. He sniffs around the entrance of his caves, the skull is still in place, and no spear outside the entrance. Contented, he sighs and heads inside to find his cave girl. Everything is how he left it, and they settle in for a night for a good meal and some giggling time. The next day, his girl is hounding him constantly. Food, 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 food. He points to the boar meat and grunts food. But his girl just won't shut up. She stalks around the cave, giving him no peace. Food, 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 food. He tries giving her more giggly time to shut her up, but that only works for an hour or so. Soon she's back after him like a twisted, primitive, energizing bunny. Food, 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 food. Finally fed up with her constant harassment, he grabs the sack and the spear and stalks out the cave. His girl follows him, demanding, food, 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 food. He turns to her, shoves his dick towards her, and grumbles something about feeding her real good soon. He heads down the trail into the forest, muttering to himself about cave bitches again. Passing a thicket about an hour from the cave, a shadow slips away from a tree and begins to stalk back up the trail towards the cave. The shadow turns into an outline of a large caveman as he makes it to the trail near the cave. The cave girl is outside building up the fire and notices the figure approaching. A smile and a wave is exchanged between the two. Chadruga approaches the cave girl and shoves his dick at her, grumbling food. She brings him a carving of meat from the boar. Soon after they head into the cave for a little giggly time. Moral of the story, if your girl wants to cheat, she'll find a way. If she's constantly pestering you when you get home from work, especially after dinner, and makes you feel like she doesn't want you around, it might be time to start reconsidering bringing any more food home to her. So, short version. So I like to think about how a caveman might have dealt with modern day problems, just for the shits and giggles. Child support, alimony, and infidelity come to mind. So for child support, I figure the caveman has the upper hand over modern men. If the cave girl takes the kids and moves out of the caveman just stops feeding her and lets them all starve. Problem solves itself. Bit dark, but hey, pretty sure the fact we're all here today means cave girls of the past knew how to avoid needing child support to begin with. For alimony, I figure a club to the head solves that problem quickly. Not like there's any police or divorce courts to make the caveman give up half his shit if his cave girl decides she doesn't want him anymore. And for infidelity, soft cooing and promises to be there for her more often in the future. Every caveman knows that guys cheat because they are horny, and girls cheat because they are missing something from the guy, and he needs to help provide it. Nah, I'm fucking with you. Club solves that problem too. If you like this content, like and subscribe. Thanks for listening.